So I wanted to do a video about aerating your tank. So the way I do it, I never point my filters to the top of the tank. I almost always have a bubble source or something falling into the water like this one. I mean, yeah, having a filter like this one right here, it's moving the top of the water. That works, and that's fine and dandy, but why I think it's so important to use a bubbler of some sort is it increases the surface area of your tank. Every one of those bubbles has its own surface area and is degassing where it breaks the surface at the top and where the bubble is made. So effectively, you're making the top of your water larger because you got more surface in your water. The reason why this is important, one, obviously your fish need oxygen, but two, the bacteria that nitrify your tank, take care of your ammonia and nitrate, need oxygen. They're pulling just as much, or not, if not more, oxygen out of your tank as the fish are. So your canister filters, your hang-on backs, whatever you're using, need highly oxygenated water to work efficiently the way they're supposed to. Also, your substrate. Everybody always, I hear it all the time, oh, don't vacuum your substrate, don't vacuum your substrate. Well, the problem with that is, or the reason why they're saying it, is because they think the bacteria grown in this substrate is denitrifying your tank, which is only true if the water in the substrate stays above a certain level of oxygen. Once it gets down to like 1 part per million oxygen, which does happen because the bacteria living in it are pulling the oxygen out of the water in your substrate, it reduces the efficiency of the bacteria. And once the oxygen gets so low, the nitrifying bacteria don't live anymore. And once you get to zero, it goes anaerobic. Well, anaerobic bacteria converts nitrate back into nitrite, and then nitrite back into ammonia. Now, people will tell you this is the opposite, but they're 100% wrong. Go look in any water treatment facility research. They teach this in colleges. It literally makes ammonia, which makes everything worse in your tank. So, this is the reason why I use large gravel. It's very shallow. The fish stir it. I vacuum 100% of it weekly to keep the oxygen levels in there high enough that what bacteria does grow in there is working efficiently. And that's part of the reason why my tank stays so clean. I mean, that back panel, you can see a little haze from bacteria growing on it, but it's never been cleaned once. These plants have never been cleaned. There's no algae. I mean, it's spotless. Front panel and side panels get cleaned about once every 2 months. And it's because I keep the crud out of the tank. I keep the oxygen levels as high as possible. The temperature of your tank will affect that too. The higher the temperature of your tank is, the less oxygen the water can hold. I usually keep my tanks at 80. But yeah, it's very important to keep oxygen levels up, especially in your substrate. If you don't keep the oxygen levels up in your substrate, you are going to have algae problems. I mean, it's just, they go hand in hand. And what everybody teaches on YouTube and all the forums and all that, they say exact opposite. And then everybody ends up with algae problems. They don't understand why. They can't get rid of it no matter what they do or try. It's this ongoing battle. Well, I have 17 aquariums, and not a single one of them grow back algae. I mean, not one of them. The tanks in my basement all have lights on them that run 12 hours a day. Not one of them grow algae. But they all have something like this in them. And this, where water actually spills into the tank, instead of just something kind of, moving the top of the water around, is also a very good oxygenator. Aerates the tank well. This, I keep my water levels full enough that this Aqua Clear 110, the water doesn't spill, it comes out and runs across the top of the water. And the only reason why I do that is to keep it quiet. If it was spilling into the tank, it'd actually do a better job. But, as anybody knows, they're loud. So I don't know if you can see it, but I keep my water level enough that it's higher than the bottom of the little lip at the bottom of the ramp, I guess you'd call it, just to keep it quiet. The only tanks I have that don't have something aerating the tank like this are very small and only have a few fish in them. But something like this, there's no way I'd have this tank without that. But I guess back to my point, aerating your tank is extremely important, not just for your fish, but for your filters and the bacteria that grow in them. So if you don't have a bubbler of some sort, and I would recommend using one of these Expermatics because they're cheap, they make a lot of bubbles, it's quiet, and because I clean it weekly, it takes out a ton of crud out of the tank. But yeah, oxygen in your tank is very important, not just for your fish. So if you have deep substrate, I would knock it down to where it's very thin. Use bigger, coarser gravels. If you're using sand, stir it a few times a week to keep oxygen down in there. If you're not, and it goes anaerobic, it can actually get to the point where it ferments, and it's very toxic to your fish. It'll make your tank smell. All that nasty stuff. But these things, keeping the water clean, highly oxygenated, plenty of filter material, is the reason why these fish are as colorful as they are. It's not the food I feed. Although I do feed it good food, that's not it. It's the water and the condition of it. You can see everybody in this tank is colored up. There's no dull guys. Their fins are good. Anyways, put an air stone in your tank. That's it.